Welcome to r/RedditRevenge. This is a story of someone getting back at someone with revenge after being wronged. And today we have 3 great stories. So subscribe, hit the like button, and let's begin. The first story. Barber's refusal to work on a holiday sparks a confrontation with a demanding customer. When the customer insists, the barber names an exorbitant price, leaving him speechless. The second story. Manager encounters a lazy and defiant employee during the busy summer season. Manager, fed up with his behavior, ensures he doesn't get rehired the following year. The third story. Tumultuous marriage unravels as infidelity, deception, and revenge take center stage, culminating in a toothy act of retribution. And the first story is because I really like money. I'm a barber. It's a great gig. In fact, I've never been happier working any job. But it does have a few downsides. The biggest one is vacations and holidays. There are very few barbering jobs that offer paid vacation days, holidays, or even sick days. Whenever you're not working, regardless of why, you're not getting paid, because unless you own the shop, you're a contract employee. A few years ago, I was working with an owner at his shop, which was in a small Texas town. Even though he was the owner, I'll be referring to him as partner from here on out, because that's the way he made me feel. He was a great guy to work with. He and I had gone to barber school together, and he's just an all-around good guy and a good friend. But he's also a no-nonsense kind of a guy. We both like to have a good laugh, but he's not putting up with anything he doesn't feel like putting up with. Nobody's going to push him around, customer or not. It was a few days before Thanksgiving, and he was planning on closing the shop Wednesday night, and then not reopening until the following Monday. I was personally very happy with this arrangement, as every shop I've ever worked at takes off for Thanksgiving Day, but reopens for the Friday and Saturday immediately after. My partner likes his days off. However, especially holidays like Thanksgiving and Christmas, they're meant to be family time, and he's a big believer in that premise. He totally would have allowed me to work those days if it was something I wanted to do, since he understood that not everybody is like he is, and he would never want anyone working with him to lose out on money just because of something he wanted to do. But I was very glad he was closing down those days because I love those holidays too. Super long setup, I know. So let's get to the actual story here. It's Tuesday, 2 days before Thanksgiving. My partner and I are both working on a customer when in walks Eye Patch Guy. You'll never guess why we called him that. Eye Patch Guy had a serious problem. He told us, as he leaned against the pool table in front of our chairs, that the barber in his area, a small town north of us, was going to be closed on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, same as us, and he absolutely had to have a haircut and a shave on Saturday. As it turns out, EPG's barber is also a good friend of ours, and also went to the same barber school with us, which is why his barber sent him down to talk to us in order to check if maybe we could help him. We politely explained to EPG that we're also going to be closed those very same days, and unfortunately we wouldn't be able to help him either. But Eye Patch Guy simply wasn't having none of that. Surely, he tells us, surely one of you could come in and fix me up for the right price. It's at this point that my partner pointed out to him that besides being closed those days, both of us live 45 minutes from the shop. Coming in isn't exactly easy. Well, I mean, it's not super hard, but it's definitely a pain in the A. He then goes on to ask him, what's the big deal about Saturday? We're going to be open tomorrow, and a haircut and shave on Wednesday would probably look almost as fresh as one done on Saturday. So why does it have to be Saturday? EPG then tells us, I have to go to the casinos in Shreveport, Louisiana. But before I go, I always like to get a fresh haircut and a shave that morning. It makes me feel extra fresh and relaxed for when I get there. It's a tradition thing, for a little bit of luck. Plus, it may only be a couple days difference, but when I go, I want to look as clean and bright as a new penny. He actually said that, SH. My partner looks over at me to see if perhaps I might be interested in coming in, but I'm already shaking my head no. I'm sorry, my partner tells him, but we've both been looking forward to spending time with our respective families on those days, and we won't be able to help you. Well, you must not like money then, Eye Patch Guy angrily shouts at us. Everywhere else I go, barbers have done this for me. I get this kind of thing all the time. Now, this is obviously not true, since as you may remember, his personal barber had already turned him down for this same request. But out of courtesy, neither of us mentioned that to him. No sense making him angrier than he already is. Instead, my partner switches off his clippers. Now, I should mention, and this is something I learned after many months working with my partner, whenever he switched those clippers off, while he was still in the middle of a cut, some serious SH was about to go down, meaning he was about to say something pretty bad A, or hilarious, or both. You know what he started? You've talked me into it. For the right price, I'd be glad to get up during my holiday with my family, drive an hour-and-a-half round trip just so I can give one single person a haircut and a shave. And I'll even go the extra mile to ensure that it's the best haircut and shave you've ever had." "Now that's what I like to hear," Eye Patch Guy said, brightening in anticipation. "How much we talking?" $350, shouted my partner in all sincerity. Eye Patch Guy just sat there, leaning up against our pool table in stunned silence. Both of us kept waiting to see what he would say. Even the 5 or 6 other customers in the shop were eagerly waiting to hear his response. After about 60 arduous seconds in complete silence, EPG finally straightened up, and without so much as a peep, made for the door. "Because I really like money," my partner shouted at him just as the door started to close behind him. Update. Eye Patch Guy came into our shop about a year and a half later. There was no way we couldn't recognize him. My partner and I shared a look as he sat down to wait his turn. After about a 30-minute wait, he was next and I got him. Immediately before he even sat down, he sheepishly began apologizing to both of us for his previous behavior. "Okay," I said, "so why you here?" Turns out his barber was off on vacation with his family. EPG needed a haircut and a shave, and was here to get one at our convenience. All was forgiven, and he got his request. The next story is, say goodbye to your summer job. I worked at a job that hired extra staff during the summer. These summer workers were needed because we were always really busy in those months. I was a manager, which meant I was one of the people in charge of training and managing the new summer staff. Unfortunately for me, one worker that wasn't interested in his job. He'd been hired on a recommendation from an employee he was friends with, and maybe because of that he had a pretty casual attitude towards work. I don't know if he thought he was untouchable or what, but the guy came in hungover often enough that the rest of the staff noticed. He was a fun-loving guy, but in retrospect, this maybe should have been a red flag. One day, when we were absolutely slammed with work, I asked him to get change because the till was running low, and he was the first employee without any customers. He flat out refused and got angry, saying that he'd already done it yesterday and wasn't doing it again. We didn't really have time for him to say no because of the long lineups, and if you've ever worked a job with customers, you'll know that people get angry when the line takes too long. In the summer, we got change all the time because of how busy we were. It's something every single employee had done before, including myself before I became a manager. I should also mention that the place he needed to go was less than a minute away, so I wasn't asking him to go halfway across town. I ended up having to wait for another employee to be available and ask them instead. I didn't go myself as I was the only one authorized to process tickets and had to be available to answer the phone and handle customer complaints. Also, work policy said that as a manager I wasn't supposed to leave the premises while on shift in case of emergencies. To this day, I don't know why he said no. Maybe he was having a bad day. Maybe he had a problem with me. But he'd never spoken to me that way before, and I guess you could say it opened my eyes to his behavior. I'd ignored the perpetual hangovers because he got along with the rest of the staff, but a lot of the time he'd seemed reluctant to do more than the bare minimum. Maybe he only saw it as a summer job and figured he'd be gone in a few months, so what did it matter? The petty happened next year when I was involved in hiring. His name was brought up and I flat out vetoed him as a summer employee. I wasn't willing to work with him again and not have him pull his own weight. His previous attitude lost him easy employment with a job he was already familiar with. Hope it was worth it, buddy. Edit. The reason he gave me was he'd gotten changed the day before, so he didn't want to go again. And he was loud about it, so I didn't want to press the issue because customers could overhear us. We didn't have errands in a rotation or anything though, because you could never predict when staff would be available. Someone would go when they were free and he just happened to be the first person available when we needed change. That's why his behavior was so out of left field. The rest of us worked really well together. It was necessary because of how busy we were. You help each other out and it makes the day easier. Edit 2. I think he was just looking to get back to an easy summer job before he went back to school. This was the first summer I'd worked with him, so maybe he didn't like the way I ran things. The third story is Dirty Divorce Games. I, 31 female, have been going back and forth with my husband, 37 male, for the last 3 years since he cheated on me with his boss's daughter right after she turned 18. We were there when she turned 18 and she moved here from Seattle and needed friends, so she kinda clings to us. She started saying she saw us as parent figures, and so she spent a lot of time around us. We were pretty much alcoholics at the time, drinking, camping, whatever, since I was on unemployment for COVID, and getting a ridiculous amount of money monthly. Naturally, we decided not to be responsible but to party it away, and we pretty much lived in the woods for like 4 months at one point with her and several other people. But I digress. The girl started sleeping with all my husband's coworkers and I had a feeling. Well, you know, This went on for months after I begged him to stop drinking and stop hanging out with her, because he would constantly be gone with one of my so-called friends, who obviously ended up being now his friend instead, and always at her house claiming to be too drunk to come home, so he stayed the night there regularly. It was the worst time of my life. His boss even offered to work me under the table, but he came up with excuses as to why he didn't want to work with me, and I found out he was even working side by side with her. Awesome. During these times, there were a ton of fights that got physical, and yes, I told him how much I hated him for the SH that he was doing, but really I felt like I loved him so much that I pleaded to make things work. I'm not the type to go through someone's phone and personal messages. This has traumatized me in the past and I just don't do it. But he didn't have a lock screen on his phone and previews of messages would just pop up. We were sleeping in bed one night and a message from her popped up, right as I was going to plug his phone in to charge it, saying something totally inappropriate. So I did what any woman would do and I opened it. Holy SH. These messages went back for months and months, saying how he was ending things with me and wanted her but wasn't sure, and the kids and so on and so forth. I read things, took screenshots and pictures, went through everything when he was sleeping, and I mean everything. So I grudged effed him, woke him up, asked him if he was sleeping with her. Obviously, he lied to my face. I asked him what is this then and showed him the messages. He shrugged it off and tried going back to sleep like nothing was happening and it wasn't a big deal. This started a vicious cycle of separation, fighting, moving out, etc. Before he moved out the first time, someone who was staying here who liked to start drama showed me his direct messages to her about how he was going on a date with some tweaker B, and I started fuming. I don't know why, as things were obviously going to be over, but he still lived here and I thought I had a right to be angry. During the beginning of COVID, I had about $6,000 that I wanted to devote to getting him dentures. His family has hereditarily bad teeth and they usually all fall out, or at least the majority before they turn 30. He had a few rotten teeth left, so he went and got them pulled and I paid for dentures for him. Great waste of money now. He never wore his dentures, but after we were separating, he started wearing them. I think to impress girls. When I found out about this girl, I also learned that she was superficial and high maintenance. I knew he was counting on his dentures to make a good impression on his date, so I took them. I went to work and put them in my locker. For the record, I work in a federal contract ammunition building facility, and it's super high security, using badges to get in and out of the gate. No public local phone numbers and security guards that patrol the facility, so there was no way he was getting them back. When I came to work, I was laughing to myself and some coworkers noticed. I had been pretty down for several months, no smiles, nothing. So I told them what happened, and they nicknamed me Tooth Fairy. This was a year ago now and nobody's forgotten. They still call me that. Many horrible things have happened since then, and currently we're fighting in a divorce. It's gotten really nasty, and I've done a few petty things since then, but this one I believe takes the cake. Subscribe, click the like button if you want to support the channel. Thank you for watching.